All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm here today with our Police Commissioner, Michael Harrison, to announce that the Baltimore Police Department is making substantial improvements into the 21st century so that when we look at specific instances of crime, we see the full picture. For years, the National Crime Data Standard has been the Summary Reporting System, or SRS. However, this system only kept track of the most serious offense in an incident, ignoring vital information needed to effectively guide crime prevention, deployment, and apprehension measures. In line with my commitment to ensure that our public safety strategies, policies, and implementation are data-driven, we are now transitioning to the National Incident-Based Reporting System, also known as NIBRS, which will allow BPD to keep track of all crimes committed in a single incident. This is a part of my evaluation and accountability pillar within the Comprehensive Violence Prevention Plan, and it allows for the collection of more detailed crime-related information, providing context to specific crimes, issues, and affording greater analytic flexibility of the crime data that we collect. I firmly believe that data is the cornerstone of good government. And if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And NIBRS will help us all do just that. This is a part of a larger strategy to enhance the way that we use data across all levels of city government, especially in regards to the safety of our residents. Last year, you all know that my administration partnered with Everytown for Gun Safety on a groundbreaking data intelligence tool to track illegal firearms and crack down on gun trafficking. And we've been holding police stat meetings with Commissioner Harrison and the BPD team every other week, and monthly updates as we will continue with our consent decree milestones. Meetings where every aspect of how BPD operates is discussed, and solutions-oriented reviews of the department's data. This NIBRS will help us go even further into that and tell a more complete picture to the public. I want to say thank you all for being here, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Harrison. Mr. Commissioner.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am also joined by Chief Derek Canton, who heads up our Information Technology section, to talk about reimagining policing in Baltimore. As part of this strategy, I would like to discuss this new initiative intended to transform the BPD into a world-class 21st century law enforcement agency. Implementing new policies and technologies allow the BPD to, number one, reduce officer workload, lessen administrative burdens, eliminate unnecessary calls for service, modernize antiquated processes, and maximize staffing capacity. As the mayor stated, NIBRS is the National Incident-Based Reporting System mandated by the federal government for all law enforcement agencies. NIBRS makes a change in the way crime data will be collected and reported. This new reporting system provides greater specificity in reporting offenses, enables us to quickly see the bigger picture of an incident, allows for the collection of more detailed crime-related information, helps give context to specific crime issues, identifies patterns in crime in timely manner, and affords greater analytic flexibility of the crime data collected. With NIBRS, reported crime numbers will seem higher than in the past for certain offense categories. This does not mean that crime has increased. It just means the way crimes are reported has changed, allowing us to fight crime more effectively. Now, at this time, we are going to show you our NIBRS video.
Hello, I'm BPD's Chief Technology Officer, Derek Canton. The way the Baltimore Police Department collects and reports data on crimes is about to change. We're here to introduce the National Incident-Based Reporting System, or NIBRS. The FBI has mandated that all law enforcement agencies across the country make the transition to NIBRS to improve the overall quality, accuracy, and timeliness of crime data collected. For decades, the national standard for crime reporting and data collection was a summary-based reporting system called SRS. SRS operated under a hierarchy rule where only the most serious offense in an incident was reported, although 10% of crimes committed include additional offenses. With NIBRS, NIDRS, the hierarchy rule goes away, allowing for up to 10 offenses per incident. NIDRS also expands the classification of offenses.
SRS's 8 Part 1 offenses will turn into NIDRS 52 Group A offenses.
This means that reported crime numbers will seem higher than they were in the past in certain offense categories. This does not mean that crime has increased, it just means the reporting has changed. The crime rate appears higher due to the classification of the numbers. For example, someone breaks into a residence with the intent to steal some items. The homeowners wake up and confront the burglar. A scuffle ensues. The burglar hits the husband in the head with a fire extinguisher and pushes the wife to the floor. Then the burglar grabs some items and runs out the front door where he's apprehended by officers who are patrolling nearby. The couple recovers from the injuries. In this incident, 3 criminal acts occurred: aggravated assault, common or simple assault, burglary.
In the SRS system, using the hierarchy rule, only the aggravated assault, the most serious offense, would have been counted.
In the NIDRS system, all offenses are counted. Why is this important? The difference does not reflect an increase in criminal incidents, but reflects the difference in the way criminal incidents are counted. NIDRS provides a deep dive into a specific incident. It collects details on victims, known offenders, arrestees, and properties involved in a crime. This increased specificity in reporting will help the Baltimore Police Department quickly see the bigger picture in an incident, identify patterns in crimes in a timely manner, and fight crime more effectively. BPD launched its new records management system, Axon Records, which allows us to collect the data required to be a NIDRS reporting agency. For more information on BPD's transition to NIDRS, visit baltimorepolice.org/NIDRS.
Once again, for more information on Baltimore Police Department's transition, you can visit baltimorepolice.org/NIDRS. Okay.
Thank you. And with that, we'll take questions. Oh,
Microphone.
sorry about that,
Go ahead,
sir.
come to the microphone. And just to let everyone know, the website, the video is on our website, so you can pull it from there as well.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. You announced, the department announced earlier this morning the arrest of Harry Coakley in a homicide last month, who served 13 years for a previous murder and robbery. Does that go to the department and the city's urging of tougher penalties on these violent offenders, if he seems to be right in that criteria of repeat violent offender?
Well, apparently this is a repeat violent offender, someone who committed a crime and was in prison for that crime and then was released a substantial time earlier and then later comes back and is accused of committing another violent crime. So, you know, the mayor and I have always talked about the certainty of consequences, and there has to be consequences because some of these offenders either believe that there are none or they have no fear of them. We certainly need to make sure that the consequences are real, and for people who are convicted, we have to make sure that they're either serving their offenses, their sentences, and are rehabilitated while they're incarcerated so that they don't come out to reoffend.
And Paul, just to add to that, I think what the Commissioner's last point, we, of course, swift and certainty of accountability when folks are arrested for serious parts of crime by our police department, which again, right now we have a 57% clearance rate on homicide. So our detectives are doing the great work to make sure, along with the community, because they clear these cases with community support, and we want people to continue to speak up. But you heard me yesterday talk about with your colleague, Mike, that we also have to start to ask these questions about what has been done with these individuals when they've been serving so long a periods of time behind bars? What kind of rehabilitation efforts were made? We actually here, the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety Engagement, under my direction, is now working with our corrections folks to start to train folks before they come home so they'll never have to go back out there on the street. But when you think about the amount of people that we see over and over again, it has to be a broader conversation with the individuals who run those prisons about how we can really work to rehabilitate people as well. Ready?
Yeah, I have a few questions. So you actually just explained how this system will be different compared to the previous SRS system. But how will this be helpful specifically for the community, and will this change how you guys disseminate information to the media?
So we will have to go through an education campaign with community. We've already started that within our department because under the SRS system, there were 8 offenses. The most serious offense was the one that was reported. Now, the Part A of NIBRS has 52 offenses. And we have to educate the community. We have to have a serious socialization process to make sure the community understands how we are reporting and then make sure that we're reporting. We will certainly continue to provide you the numbers of specific incidents like a shooting, like a murder that occur. But we want to make sure we're getting the full picture of what happened. Just like you saw in the video, if there's a burglary but other things happen while inside the home, all of those things will be counted now. Doesn't mean that crime goes up. It's still one incident, but there are 3 different crimes committed within that one incident.
Okay, and do you think this will be helpful towards the bigger picture of solving crime in the long run?
Well, we do, and with all the other law enforcement agencies around the country, we do, because it gives us a clearer look into the bigger picture. For analytical reasons and analytical purposes, we get to know now what actually happened so we can know MO, modus operandi, how crimes were committed that might be able to help us link perpetrators to other similar crimes. So for analytical reasons, we absolutely think it will make us more effective and more efficient.
And last question for you. Do you think this will, or will this be easily accessible to the public to view this information?
It will be easily accessible. It will be on our website. We believe that our dashboard will be live at the second quarter of this year, I believe, and it will be right there on our website for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. Nothing will change about how we share our data. That's a mandate from me, so all of our agencies know that they have to share their data. We will continue to do that publicly. Jessica?
Oh, hello. I just had a small question. So the current crime data that we're able to see online now, this change isn't reflected in that? It's visible on like CityStat at the moment?
Oh, no.
No, I don't think that's changed as of yet.
Okay. And was there a delay in implementing this at all?
We actually started this process last year because everybody in the country was supposed to make the transition January 1st of this year. We started the process. We had verification processes to make sure our department was not just capable but ready, and we were. It takes some time to transition. We have brand new technology with our records management system. So it's taken us some time to transition, but we actually started last year in preparation to launch by January 1st. It'll be from January 1st moving forward, probably.
And just a reminder, we know this is something that all departments across the country are under federal order to do.
Was there frustration with the old system too, Mayor and Commissioner, because of the way that the breakdown was in terms of what you could report and how that was released?
Listen, a great question. What I would say is frustration in the sense of you would hear in community meetings sometimes on incidents they knew other things that happened, and you would put your district commanders and others really sometimes at odds with residents who knew information, but the only thing that our officers and leaders were able to say is what was legally bound, they were legally bound to report and how they report out. This we just think is more transparent. We look forward to working with the community to understand it in a deeper way because, as I always say, a more informed citizenry is a better one.
We also had another shooting at Pimlico on Cross Country Boulevard overnight, and I know that the quadruple shooting just recently. Any information you guys can release dealing with the situation that happened last night? Is there any relation to any incident, the quadruple shooting or anything else?
To our knowledge, at this moment, they are not related, and detectives are still combing through evidence and working to collect even more evidence, more video, and to locate more witnesses. The thing we need more than anything, Barry, is for people who were there and who saw it and know what happened to come forward to help us, because the only way we improve and get better with this is with community support. So detectives are still working right now, trying to collect more evidence, locate more witnesses, and following the leads that they already have.
And the cross-country, Pimlico and cross-country, any new information that you can release?
No new updates at this time.
Commissioner, what would be your overall message to people who may see the increased crime statistics and think, oh my, this is worse than I thought, crime is worse than I thought here in Baltimore?
Well, my message to them is your police department, while crime may appear to be getting worse, and in many cases it is, according to the numbers, your police department is getting better every day. We're making more arrests of individuals who are committing these crimes. We're clearing more cases. We have a 57% clearance rate as of this morning. Just a few days ago, it was at 62. I have not recalled it being that high in my 3 years. So detectives are doing a much better job. Officers are doing a much better job. We're seizing more guns than we ever have this year, especially this year compared to last year. We've taken more ghost guns off the street this year compared to previous years. And we're more proactive, and officers are more engaged than in recent years. And so while this is happening in every city across America, big and small, our police department is stepping up to the challenge to do what it is necessary to make sure we make citizens safe and make them feel safe. We've gone through 2 years, a year and a half, almost 2 years, with no trials, no grand juries, no indictments, none of that. And so people who are committing crimes will perceive that there are no consequences. Now that we're back on track with grand juries and indictments and trials, the rest of the system is trying to catch up. My message to the citizens is the police department is always out there. We're working to make you safe. We're working to make you feel safe. And we're doing a better job in all of those areas. Although we'll be the first to admit there's always more work to be done.
Going to the shooting of the 18-year-old outside Dunbar High School, in your opinion, is that incident an example as to why city school police should be armed?
Well, I don't know that that incident has anything to do with whether or not school police should be armed. What I will tell you is that that incident is a classic case of conflict resolution or the failure to solve those conflicts the appropriate way. Group of kids outside met up by another group of kids. Maybe they know each other. Maybe they know of each other. Something happens. Violence ensues. One person pulls out a gun and begins shooting. The fact that the cops in the schools are not armed had nothing to do with those bad decisions.
Right, but the other children there, it could have been worse.
It could have been worse. But the officer, as I learned yesterday, the officer who's assigned to the school was actually inside the building while the students were out. So it wouldn't have mattered whether the officer was armed or not in that specific case. I will say that this speaks to a culture of violence where people are making bad decisions to use guns to solve their conflict. The fact that they got the guns in a bad way and aren't supposed to have them, and their willingness to use them indiscriminately like they did, could have shot multiple people. That speaks to a culture, a mindset that we have to change.
Are you? Oh, did they all get two?
Hello, Mr. Mayor. ARPA funding and Safe Streets. We know that they're going to be getting some of that ARPA funding. Why isn't there a way to track where that money is going to go once it's in the hands of Safe Streets?
So again, I think we know what Safe Streets is. We know that Safe Streets gets city funding, but I want to be very clear. The ARPA funding that is going to community violence intervention is not just going to Safe Streets. So that may be something that you've made up in your mind, but the reality is it's going to go to community partners across the city. And if you look at how Safe Streets itself is funded, and you look at the organizations that run it, like LifeBridge and Catholic Charities and Living Classrooms, it's not hard to find out how they're spending that money, because these are credible community organizations that have million-dollar budgets that do great work across Baltimore. And when we're funding these kind of credible organizations who are doing great work solving, preventing violence and solving community issues day to day, that's something that we'll continue to do.
I understand that there's more than just Safe Streets out there, but just for the sake of example, Safe Streets is made up of a lot of different organizations, and we found it difficult to really drill down to
Yeah, I'll explain it to you again. Maybe it wasn't simple enough the first time. Safe Streets the money comes through Muncie out to the community organization partners who then fund the program. So like any other grant, there's an opportunity for you guys to discuss with LifeBridge, with Living Classrooms, with, all of our community partners on what's going on with Safe Streets. They would be happy to have you guys come and visit their site so that you guys can see actually what happens with our violence prevention workers. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Derek?
The powder donuts.